everyone, it's Dave Barnett from the investlocalbook.com blog site. I was doing some email correspondence the other day with one of my readers, and a couple of questions came up which I thought were great ideas for some videos. And one of the questions from the reader, Chris out in California, was, tell me the story of your first private investment deal. But before I can tell that story, which will be in a later video, I'll probably record it right after this one, I have to tell you the story of my failed Lonnie deal. Now, there's an author, unfortunately the gentleman's passed away, and he was from the American South, Georgia, I believe, and his name was Lonnie Scruggs, and he wrote a book called Deals on Wheels. And Lonnie was a lifelong investor in rental properties, and to make a long story short, at the end of his investment career, he started to sell off these homes that he owned, and he would vendor finance some of them. So he would sell them, take a down payment, and hold a note. And this was his plan for retirement, so that he would collect these mortgage payments, and that's how he turned the homes into sort of a retirement annuity for himself. And someone came along and offered him an older mobile home as a trade to make a down payment on one of his houses. And he had never really done any research on these mobile homes before, but he went into the trailer park and he found the mobile home, and he had taken it on trade, and then he put a for sale sign in the window and tried to sell it. And he noticed something very peculiar, is that everyone who was in the trailer park looking for these older mobile homes didn't seem to have any money. They all wanted to buy them on payments. Now, because he was no stranger to the whole notion of selling things on vendor financing, he was open to making deals. And what he ended up discovering was this whole hidden market that he wrote about in his book, Deals on Wheels, where people who need to sell these older homes need cash. So maybe they need to move to another state, or they're being transferred, or maybe they're getting married or something, and they need money out of the mobile home, but the buyers in the market don't have any cash. They all want to buy on payments. So what Lonnie started to do is he would go into these trailer parks, and if someone wanted, say, $5,000 for their mobile home, he would buy it for $2,500 and then turn it around and put it for sale for $7,000 with a sign saying financing available with a reasonable down payment. And what would end up happening was he would, while the face note would have a very reasonable interest rate on it, maybe 12%, because he marked it up so much, the net effective rate of return on his money would be huge. And there's a little example of this in my book, Invest Local, and I believe that Deals on Wheels might be available for sale on Kindle. So I decided that I was going to do one of these deals. So I started to look through the mobile home parks in around where I live, and I eventually found a good deal on one, and I bought it and closed the deal. I owned the place. And then very unfortunate things started to happen for me. So number one, as soon as I bought the trailer, the ownership of the trailer park changed. They increased the lot rent. It was end of winter when I bought it, and what ended up happening was they changed the rules that whenever a trailer was bought or sold, they wanted to try to get rid of the oil heating, because the oil tanks were an environmental hazard for them, being the owners of the land. So, of course, the trailer that I owned had oil heat. And so all of a sudden then I was faced with, I think I had to pay 3 months of lot rent. I was faced with the expense of converting the heating over to electric, which was the easiest thing to do. And the roof, there was this little sort of side addition that had been built on the trailer. The roof started to leak because the heating was turned down over the winter, and the insulation got all full of water, and the roof kind of started collapsing. So I realized I was going to have to tear that down. And then one day I went by and took a look inside and thought I saw a pool of water on the kitchen floor, and a pipe had broken, creating a big pool of water. And if I hadn't caught it that day, it probably would have caused some real damage to the trailer. So anyway, eventually, a guy came along who wanted to, basically he had been divorced, he had some money saved up, but he wanted to enact what I like to call, the guy's plan B. He wanted to become a hermit in the forest. So he had found a guy with like 100 acres of forest down in Nova Scotia and was willing to let him park the trailer there for like $100 a month. And he just wanted to buy something outright so he wouldn't have any sort of rent or home payment. Basically, he bought it off me for what I had paid plus put into these other expenses. I never did convert it over to electric because, of course, he was removing it from the park. But then I had to pick up the fee for having all of the skirting and other junk and garbage picked up and removed. And at the end of the day, on the total deal, I think I lost about $300. And I sat down, I licked my wounds, and I realized, wow, that was a tremendous amount of education for only $300. And then I resolved to not do any more Lonnie deals anymore, just because of the fact that I realized you're going to be owning personal property, these trailers that are on somebody else's property. Not only are you subject to government rules and city rules, but you're also subject to the whims and the changing policies of the people that run the mini home parks. So I decided I wouldn't do any more Lonnie deals. I didn't completely lose my interest in mobile homes, but I had to figure out a better way to do a private investing deal in those circumstances. Anyway, so that's the story of the failed Lonnie deal. If you want to learn more about deals like that, you should be reading my book, Invest Local. You can get it from Amazon or from my website, investlocalbook.com. And if you go to my website, investlocalbook.com, there is a free download. It's a whole package of magazine articles that were published by me a couple of years ago. Lots of great information, and it's free, completely free. So thank you very much, and we'll see you later.